Bruce Lee's journey to greatness was neither straightforward nor guaranteed. Born on November 27, 1940 in San Francisco's Chinatown, during a tour of the Chinese opera by his father, Li Hoi-chuen, Bruce was introduced to performance art even before he could walk. His given name, Li Junfan, symbolized a return to roots. He was born in America but raised in Hong Kong, a cultural bridge that would later define much of his legacy. Growing up in post-war Hong Kong, Bruce was a precocious child, energetic, defiant, and drawn to the silver screen. He appeared in over a dozen Cantonese-language films as a child actor, but fame didn't shield him from the rough realities of urban street life. Bullied by local gangs and plagued by a sense of restlessness, Bruce began training in Wing Chun under the tutelage of the legendary Ip Man. This decision would not only change the trajectory of his life, but ultimately alter the future of martial arts forever. However, Bruce's early mastery in Wing Chun did not instantly make him a disciplined practitioner. He often got into street fights, which worried his parents deeply. His growing reputation as a troublemaker brought with it both admiration from peers and serious concern from his family. After one particularly violent altercation, Bruce's parents recognized the danger he was in, both from rival gang members and from possible police action. They made the difficult decision to send him away from Hong Kong, back to the country of his birth, hoping he would find a fresh start. Armed with only $100 and a dream, Bruce embarked on a journey that would test his resilience and redefine his destiny. He landed in Seattle, Washington, where he took the humbling job of washing dishes in a Chinese restaurant owned by a family friend. Despite the menial work, Bruce remained determined to build a better life for himself. At the same time, he pursued higher education, enrolling at the University of Washington. He majored in philosophy, a choice that might have seemed unusual for a young man known primarily for his physical prowess. Yet philosophy offered Bruce the intellectual framework to explore deeper questions about identity, discipline, and the nature of combat. He studied Eastern and Western philosophers alike, drawing connections between martial arts and the larger principles of life and existence. This academic foundation heavily influenced his later approach to martial arts, which he refused to confine within the rigid boundaries of any single tradition. During his time in Seattle, Bruce began informally teaching martial arts to friends and acquaintances, quickly building a small following. His style was fluid, practical, and adapted to real-world combat, distinguishing it from the more formalized and traditional styles prevalent at the time. Encouraged by the enthusiasm of his students, Bruce opened his first martial arts school, the Junfan Kung Fu Institute. It was here that the seeds of Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist, were sown. Unlike traditional martial arts that emphasized fixed forms and strict hierarchies, Bruce's philosophy emphasized efficiency, directness, and personal expression. He believed in absorbing what was useful, discarding what was not, and adding what was uniquely one's own, a radical approach that would eventually revolutionize martial arts around the world. Bruce's commitment to redefining martial arts went beyond physical techniques. It was a philosophical rebellion against conformity. He saw traditional styles as cages, limiting the practitioner's ability to respond organically to real-life combat situations. To Bruce, the essence of martial arts wasn't about memorizing forms or blindly adhering to ancient dogma. It was about expression, honest, direct, and effective. His refusal to be constrained by lineage or tradition alienated many within the Chinese martial arts community, especially when he chose to teach non-Chinese students. At that time, the Chinese martial arts world in America operated under an unspoken code. Knowledge was to remain within the community. Bruce's defiance of this rule was seen as a betrayal. Tensions came to a head when he was challenged to a duel by members of San Francisco's Chinatown martial arts circle who demanded he cease teaching outsiders. The ensuing fight, held in private, was expected to be swift. Bruce won, but the match dragged on far longer than he had anticipated, leaving him winded and frustrated. This moment proved transformative. Though victorious, Bruce realized that his current approach had limitations. It prompted an intense period of introspection, physical training, and study. He began to question the very foundation of martial arts, asking not how to fight better within a system, but how to fight more efficiently in the real world. From this questioning emerged Jeet Kune Do, not a style, but a philosophy. It was a martial art of no way as way, of no limitation as limitation. Bruce stressed adaptability, speed, interception, and economy of motion. He drew on boxing, fencing, Wing Chun, and other disciplines to craft a fluid, ever-evolving combat system. The philosophy behind it was deeply personal, drawn from his belief in self-actualization and liberation through discipline and self-knowledge. Bruce's innovations, paired with his striking charisma, began to attract attention far beyond martial arts circles. When he appeared on television screens as Kato in The Green Hornet, audiences were captivated by his speed and presence. His fight choreography, crisp and explosively kinetic, was unlike anything seen on American TV. Yet his breakthrough was tempered by frustration. The show was short-lived, and Bruce quickly found that Hollywood had little room for an Asian leading man. Even as he dazzled producers with his physical abilities and screen-test charisma, roles eluded him. Offers that did come in were stereotypical and demeaning waiters, servants, or henchmen. Determined to change the narrative, Bruce began developing his own projects. One such idea, about a Shaolin monk wandering the American Old West, fused Eastern philosophy with Western storytelling. Bruce pitched it with passion, hoping it would allow him to bring authentic Asian representation to the screen, but studios balked. They bought the idea only to cast David Carradine in the lead, citing that an Asian actor wouldn't be relatable to American audiences. The rejection stung deeply. For Bruce, it wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was evidence of systemic erasure. Yet instead of giving in, he began to look eastward toward the Hong Kong film industry, where his skills, identity, and ambition might be recognized and respected. What had begun as rejection would soon fuel an international revolution in cinema. But Bruce returned to Hong Kong in the early 1970s. He was taken aback by the level of recognition he received. Though The Green Hornet had been cancelled in the United States after one season, it had been a massive hit in Hong Kong, where audiences had affectionately nicknamed it the Kato Show. Bruce found himself a star without having truly realized it. This serendipitous popularity allowed him to negotiate more creative control than most actors in the Hong Kong film industry, leading to a landmark partnership with Golden Harvest, a relatively new studio eager to challenge the dominance of Shaw Brothers. With The Big Boss. In 1971, Bruce exploded onto the Asian film scene. The film, with its gritty tone and visceral fight scenes, captured the imagination of audiences and shattered box office records. Bruce's screen presence was electric. His intensity, charisma, and physicality radiated from the frame. The success of The Big Boss was followed by Fist of Fury in 1972, a film that further solidified Bruce as a cultural hero. In it, he portrayed a student avenging the death of his master, a plot that deeply resonated with Chinese audiences still grappling with the legacy of colonialism and foreign occupation. Bruce's performance wasn't just physical, it was emotionally charged, brimming with pride, defiance, and righteous anger. That same year, he wrote, directed, and starred in Way of the Dragon, which allowed him to take full control of his vision. The film, featuring the now legendary showdown between Bruce and Chuck Norris in the Roman Colosseum, displayed not only martial skill, but cinematic sophistication. The choreography was symbolic, almost balletic, blending philosophy with physical combat. His commitment to controlling every aspect of production demonstrated that Bruce was more than an action star. He was an auteur. Enter the Dragon, released. In 1973 was Bruce's first and only Hollywood-backed feature film released during his lifetime. It was a groundbreaking co-production between Warner Brothers and Golden Harvest, and Bruce was heavily involved in its development. The film combined Eastern philosophy, espionage, and martial arts spectacle in a way that appealed to Western audiences while staying true to Bruce's roots. Tragically, Bruce did not live to see the global phenomenon it would become. Just weeks before its release, he collapsed in Hong Kong and later died, sending shockwaves across the globe. The official cause was cerebral edema, potentially triggered by a reaction to a painkiller, but rumors and conspiracy theories have persisted for decades. From triad involvement to governmental foul play, the mystery only intensified his legend. Despite his premature death, Bruce Lee's legacy endured and grew exponentially. His teachings on self-expression and liberation, through both body and mind, became universal. He had always believed that martial arts were more than fighting. Techniques, they were a path to personal truth. His blend of Taoist philosophy and modern pragmatism influenced not only future martial artists, but musicians, dancers, athletes, and thinkers across disciplines. He bridged East and West, not just in film but in ideology, embodying the best of both worlds while challenging their limitations. Hollywood eventually came to embrace the path he forged. Actors like Jackie Chan and Jet Li benefited directly. From the doors Bruce had forced open, the choreography and philosophy he pioneered became the DNA of countless modern films. The Wachowskis cited Bruce's principles in designing The Matrix, while John Wick owes much to the style and philosophy Bruce introduced. More importantly, Bruce Lee made it acceptable, even aspirational, to be different, to break molds, and to challenge systems that tried to contain the individual. His life remains a testament to the power of vision, will, and the refusal to be limited by the world's expectations. Bruce Lee's writings, especially Tao of Jeet Kune Do, stand as a lasting testament to his intellectual depth and his relentless pursuit of self-discovery. Compiled and published posthumously, the book draws from his extensive journals, notes, and sketches. It's not merely a manual for combat, but a philosophical treatise that blends existentialism, Zen Buddhism, Western thinkers like Krishnamurti and Nietzsche, and Eastern martial tradition. Bruce poured his thoughts into these pages during a time of physical recovery, sidelined by a serious back injury that could have ended his martial arts career. But instead of succumbing to despair, he turned inward and created what would become a revolutionary philosophy on combat and life. The book reads like a dialogue between warrior and sage, emphasizing spontaneity, simplicity, and the shedding of form. It is both blueprint and riddle, revealing the mind of a man who saw no separation between the body and the soul. Beyond his own efforts, Bruce's family played a vital role in preserving his vision. His widow, Linda Lee Cadwell, remained a fierce guardian of his legacy, ensuring that his contributions were never lost in the noise of commercialism or myth-making. She authored memoirs, gave interviews, and helped compile his works. Their daughter, Shannon Lee, emerged as a passionate ambassador for her father's legacy in the modern age. Through the Bruce Lee Foundation, Shannon has overseen the creation of documentaries, exhibitions, and educational initiatives aimed at preserving and teaching Bruce's philosophies to new generations. These projects have not only highlighted his impact on cinema and martial arts, but also emphasized his human side as a father, a husband, a thinker, and a dreamer. Game of Death. The film Bruce began before Enter the Dragon remains an enigmatic part of his filmography. Though he had filmed only a few scenes before his death, the movie was pieced together and released in 1978, with lookalikes and clever editing used to complete it. While the final product lacked the nuance Bruce would have brought to it, certain scenes, particularly the one featuring Bruce battling Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, captured the layered symbolism and physical storytelling he intended. The yellow jumpsuit he wore became immortalized, not just for its style, but for what it represented: defiance, originality, and the endless pursuit of one's path. Bruce Lee was far more than the roles he played or the punches he threw. He was a revolutionary spirit, someone who insisted on being heard in a world that tried to mute him. He taught that martial arts were not about domination but liberation, not about defeating an opponent but mastering the self. His idea of success was deeply personal, to be completely oneself, free of labels and fear. That ethos resonated across racial, cultural, and generational lines. In a time when Asians were often confined to stereotypes, Bruce became a symbol of strength and complexity. His legacy gave rise not only to a new genre of action filmmaking, but to a new archetype of the Asian man in global popular culture. Bruce Lee's life is a study in resilience. He overcame every barrier that stood before him, from racial prejudice to physical setbacks, and did so with elegance and conviction. He never waited for validation. He forged his own path, drawing from the East and West to create something entirely original. His legacy is not just in the movies or the martial art schools that bear his name, but in every individual who dares to defy limitations, think differently, and express themselves fully. Bruce lived as he fought, with precision, passion, and a refusal to conform. His story continues to inspire because it reflects the universal struggle to be seen, to be understood, and ultimately, to be free. Today, Bruce Lee's influence is not merely remembered, it is felt, lived, and celebrated in diverse spheres around the globe. His name has transcended the realm of martial arts and cinema to become a universal symbol of personal empowerment, cultural pride, and philosophical depth. Monuments and murals dedicated to him stand proudly in places like Hong Kong's Avenue of Stars and Los Angeles' Chinatown, where visitors from all walks of life pay homage to the man who redefined what it meant to be a martial artist and a global icon. His image is etched into the collective consciousness, the intense gaze, the lightning-fast movements, the iconic yellow jumpsuit. These are not just remnants of a career, they are emblems of a legacy. Bruce's quotes have found their way into classrooms, locker rooms, and boardrooms, inspiring not just fighters, but thinkers, creatives, and entrepreneurs. Be water, my friend, has become more than a catchphrase. It's a life philosophy adopted by those seeking balance, flexibility, and resilience in a chaotic world. His principles of constant self-improvement, inner discipline, and rejecting limitations resonate just as powerfully in the digital age as they did in the 1970s. In athletic communities, his training techniques and philosophies remain part of elite regimens. MMA fighters, for instance, frequently cite Bruce Lee as the spiritual godfather of their sport, recognizing his early vision of combining multiple martial arts styles into a cohesive, efficient form. His influence is just as profound. In film, directors like Quentin Tarantino, the Wachowskis, and Ang Lee have drawn from Bruce's kinetic energy, his cinematic rhythm, and his unique ability to turn action into art. His films are still studied in film schools not only for their fight choreography but also for their pacing, narrative structure, and cultural significance. Enter the Dragon alone remains a touchstone for how martial arts cinema can engage global audiences with style and substance. Each time a new martial arts film is made, Bruce's influence is present, not just in the physical choreography, but in the deeper question of what it means to express oneself honestly through motion and conflict. Moreover, Bruce's legacy serves as a rallying point for Asian representation in global media. In an entertainment world still grappling with diversity and inclusion, Bruce Lee stands as an enduring example of how one person can break through entrenched stereotypes and claim space where none existed. His journey continues to inspire countless others to stand firm in their identities, challenge prejudice, and make their voices heard. Institutions like the Bruce Lee Foundation work tirelessly to preserve his teachings and inspire new generations through education, scholarship, and community outreach. As the decades pass, Bruce Lee's star doesn't dim, it burns brighter. His story of perseverance, defiance, and self-expression speaks to something timeless. He lived and died young, but in that brief time, he reshaped the boundaries of possibility. He taught us that greatness isn't inherited, it's cultivated, through sweat, introspection, and fearless individuality. In a world that constantly shifts and redefines its heroes, Bruce Lee remains unshakable, not as a relic of the past, but as a force for the future. His life was more than a long way to success. It was a relentless pursuit of truth, a revolution in motion, and an eternal flame that continues to light the way for dreamers, fighters, and visionaries everywhere.